Console.log is most commonly used type of console in JavaScript. Imagine you have a value written in JavaScript code. If you are a JavaScript or a React developer, you may already know that to print a value, you have to console.log. Then you have to put the variable name inside console.log to print its value. There are many ways you can see the output printed by console.log. To see the output of console.log, you can directly run the code inside your VS Code, and then the output will be inside the terminal. Or another way is to go to browser and click on inspect button, then select the console tab. You can write some JavaScript code directly inside this console window. Also, when you have some React or JavaScript project running inside the browser, open the browser tab in which your project is running, then right click, then click on inspect button. Now inside this, select the console window, and now you can see your output is printed here. In actual project, you probably will not be working with a single variable. There will be multiple variables with different names and different values. For multiple variables, you can use multiple console logs. In this first console log, I am printing this number, and in second console log, I am printing this string. In the browser window's console tab, you can see both number and strings are printed. Sometimes you may want to know of which variables these values are. For that, you can use two values inside console log. First can be a string, that is a variable name, and second will be the value. Now in the console tab of browser, you can easily tell which value is related to which variable. Here value 10 is of num1 variable and Alexa value is of str2 variable. Inside filter, you can even search for some particular variables and they will appear here. Console log not just prints numbers and strings, it can also print arrays and also objects. Now as you can see in this console tab, array is printed and also object is printed. Inside filter, you can even search for some nested values. For example, this object has a name as allies. So I want to search for any console log that has allies in it. So this object has allies, so it appeared here. After console.log, next type is console.info. It is similar to console.log, but only difference is that it is used for some informational messages. Previously in this React project I was using console.log, but now I am using console.info. As you can see in the browser console tab, output is almost similar to console.log. Some developers may decide to define some other color for console.info to differentiate it from console.log. To change color of console.info, you can use template literal or template strings. Then you can write %c, then inside curly braces, you can write the object or the variable name you want to write. After that, inside a string, you can write the style. So for example, I want to set the color as green. So it has changed the color of the console output in the console tab. You can even add more styles, like you can add font weight and set it to bold. So it has styled the console info as bold inside the console window. When you want to give any type of warning to your user, you can use console.warn. Take a scenario where you have defined a function named divide, which is dividing A with B. So here we have in console log this function divide 10 by 2. So in the console window, we are getting the 5 as the output, which is 10 divided by 2. So that's perfect. What if we call this divide function once again? So now this time we are dividing this 10 by 0. So as you may know, anything divided by 0 will be infinity. Now also in the console window, we are getting the infinity as output. But you want to give some warning message if b is equals to 0. So inside this if statement, I can write console.warn, and inside this I can write any message like dividing by 0 can result in unexpected behavior. If you run this code again, you will see a warning inside console window that dividing by 0 can result in unexpected behavior. So also here at the top it is saying that we are getting the warnings. So that's how you can show warnings to your users about the things they should not do. Next we have console.debug, which is used to log debug messages inside browser's console. In many browsers and environments, it behaves identically to console.log. However, its intended purpose is to differentiate debug messages from regular log messages. Here I am logging example message processing data, and I am also logging array. Nothing is shown in the browser's console because in the default levels we have only info, warnings and errors, but we do not have verbose activated. If I check the verbose, then only the debug message will be shown. This behavior of console.debug can be useful for organizing and filtering logs in complex applications. After console.debug, we have console.assert, which writes an error message to the console if the assertion is false. If the assertion is true, nothing happens. Let's take the example of same divide function that we have used earlier. We have two variables a and b, and we are dividing a with b. And here we are using console.log, and we are outputting divide function and 10 divided by 5. Previously, we were showing a warning to the user when b was equals to 0 because anything divided by 0 equals to infinity. This time, we are going to use console.assert. First, console.assert take expression, and then after that it take a message. Expression takes a condition that we want to test. If this condition is true, then the message is displayed. If this condition is false, then the assertion warning is displayed in the console. So here let's expression will be b is should not equals to 0. Message will be like a warning message. It will be saying 0 is not allowed. I will put this expression and the message inside console.assert. Now the condition we are testing or the expression we are using is b should not be equals to 0. If b is some other number, that means this condition is true, that is b is not equals to 0, then the message is not displayed. But if the condition or the expression is false, that means b is equals to 0, then this message will be displayed in the console. Here we are dividing 10 by 5. That means 5 is b and b is not equals to 0. So that condition is true. So in the console.assert, if the expression or condition is true, then the message is not displayed. So here, as you can see, only the result is displayed and message not displayed. So in the second case, we are dividing 10 by 0. So in this case, b is 0. So this expression becomes false. So now in the console.assert, if the expression becomes false, then message is displayed or the warning is displayed to the user. So here in this browser window in the console tab, we are getting this warning that 0 is not allowed. If you do not want to define this expression and message separately, you can copy and paste them just inside console.assert. And now I will also cut and copy this message inside console.assert, and now I will remove these variables. After console.assert, we have console.error, which outputs an error message to the console. Once again, take the example of this divide function. So we have a and b. A is dividing by b, so b is the divisor. So here we have 2 as a divisor. So it is working perfectly fine. If I refresh it, we are getting the 5. So what if I don't provide the divisor inside the divide function? So inside the console tab, it will give us the NaN, that is not a number. Now we will handle the case in which the divisor is not available. So inside this, first in the if statement, we will check if b is not there, that is not b. So inside curly braces, we will write console.error, and inside console.error, I will write a message divisor is not defined. In this divide function, I have not provided the divisor. So if I go to console tab in the browser, so as you can see, we have got the error message divisor is not defined. So error message is always defined or displayed in a red color. Console.clear, as its name implies, is used to clear the console. If you have multiple console logs or messages inside your browser window or browser console, you can use it to clear the messages. Suppose you have multiple console logs inside your app. So here, for example, I am using console.log and I'm saying or displaying this is a message. After that, we have console.warn. It's giving us a warning that this is a warning, the simple message. And after that, we have console.error. This is saying this is an error. So if you go to your browser console and clear it, refresh it, you can see we have multiple consoles. This is a simple log message, this is a warning, and this is an error in red. So now in our React app, I will use console.clear. So as expected, inside our console window, it has cleared. So even there is a message displayed, console was cleared. If you refresh, again console was cleared. So again and again, console will be cleared. One thing to note is that console.clear will clear only the console messages that are above it. It will not clear the messages that are below it. So here, for example, log and warn were above it, so they are cleared. and the error was below it, so it's not cleared. Now console.dir displays an interactive list of properties of the specified JavaScript object. Here I have an object named car. It has the properties make, model, year, and the engine type. I'm displaying it using a dir type of console, and if you go to browser's console, it is saying that this is an object, and if you expand it, then it will show you the actual object, and it has an engine that is a nested object inside our object. Now I will also display the message using console.log. So we are logging the car object. So inside the browser window, I will clear it, refresh it. So console.dir is saying that this is an object. So if you expand it, then we can see the object. There's a difference in console.log. It is directly showing us the object. We can directly see it here. And if you expand, it will properly expand the object. Now let's see how console.dir will display in an array. We have an array of prime numbers from 2 to 7, and I'm using both console.dir and console.log. So in the browser window, let's check. We have the array that is displayed by console.dir. It will say that array is of length 4. So this is a simple log message. So it's also displaying the length, but the display like type is different. This is a dir and this is simple log. All in all, I noticed that the dir will tell you the type of the object or the variable you are using. So here primes is array, this is string, this is number and float. I am using dir to output all of them. So in the browser console, first it is saying that primes is actually an array, then str is in a string, but for the numbers it's not saying that they're number or they're float, it just displays the numbers for that. So you can keep that thing in the mind. Console.table is another great method in JavaScript that is used to display tabular data in the console. One thing to keep in mind to show tabular data that it should be in an array. So inside array you should have the objects. Object has key value pairs. Like in this example, I have ID and name. Also, I've added another ID and name. Let me first show you how the console log will display this data. So I'll run it and it has the objects. It is like array of objects. That's simple. Now I have used console.table. Now let's see how it will display the table. So as you can see, great, it has displayed the table in a tabular form. We have ID and ID 11 and 12 and then the name, Lex and John. I have used the same code inside React, and let's see how it is being displayed inside our browser console. So here also we have kind of like same table ID and name with the IDs 11, 12 and names Lex and John. Also next is 0, 1, and also we have this extra array displayed that was not inside the VS Code terminal. So that's the extra feature. So yeah, that's great. Console.count is a little bit different in the sense that it logs the number of times that this particular call to the count has been called. Let's say we have an example function and I have called it multiple times in my program. So I want to see how many times it is being called. So I will put a console.count inside this and I will can write any text inside it like I have written here, example function. Then there can be some code here inside this function. Now I will call this function one time, single time, and I will call it two times. Now I will run it, and as you can see, we have example function, this string, and after that we have count 1, 2. That means we have this example function called two times. Now again I will call it more times. This is called four times. I will run it again. So okay, so now here we have example function 3 and 4. So in total example function is called 4 times in our program. Now we have a very beneficial methods of console, that's console.time and console.timeend. This starts and stops a timer to measure how long an operation takes to operate. Suppose you are performing a time-consuming operation and you want to check how long does it take to operate, then you can write that code inside console.time and console.timeend. So here I will create a function where I will add the sum up to like 1 million. So for that I will use a for loop. I will start I from 0, that is increment. Then I will run it up to 1 million. Then I will increment it. Then inside this I will add sum for every increment. So it will I think add to up to 1 million. So now I will run it Let's see how it goes. So here we have default time 2.431 millisecond. So what it says that to perform this execution, your computer or your system took 2.431 milliseconds. Now I will try to add zeros. So this will be 10 million. Now I will run it. So as you can see, previously it was 2 seconds. Now it 2 milliseconds. Now it is 11 milliseconds. I will add another zero. I will check. It is 75 milliseconds. I will add another zero. Now let's see how much it will take. It has take 643 milliseconds, almost close to 1 second, because 1 second has 1000 milliseconds. So yeah, so you can see how long it takes to perform some very computationally expensive calculations. Next in the list is we have group and group end. What it does is that it groups related log messages together in a collapsible group. To create a collapsible group, you first need to write a string inside console.group. Like here, I have written group A, and then you can write anything like console log. This is log of group A. Then another console log. This is log of group A. Now, if I see inside console of our browser, you can see this is group, and these are console logs, and these are even collapsible and expandable. Finally, we have console.trace. It is a method in a JavaScript used to print a stack trace to the browser's console. A stack trace provides information about the current call stack, including the sequence of nested function calls that led to the current point in the code where the console.trace is called. Take this example. Here I have defined for function, and here inside this I will call bar function. So again I will define a bar function. Inside it, to trace this bar function, I will write console.trace inside it. If you run this code, you will see that trace message appeared in the terminal. Here it will say at 9, the function f4 is called, and after that at line number 9, bar is called. So inside bar, it will say at line number 6 is the actual console.trace. So it has actually traced this bar function. So it helps in debugging by showing the path that the program took to reach a certain point, which can be useful for identifying the source of errors or unexpected behavior.